So happy to have everyone here in this episode. And today I have the beautiful Erica Coward from Simply Divine Elements. So, Erica is a fellow, multifaceted psychic healer. She's a psychic medium, intuitive Reiki healer, but oh my God, so much more, which we will go into. Now, I wanted to get Eric on the show because I really want to share the experiences of other spiritual entrepreneurs, those that have really stepped into their soul work, into their psychic work, into their healing work. And I really want to highlight that this path has so many winding roads and it's ever changing, as I'm sure myself and Erica can verify. So I just wanted this episode to be an open forum chat with Erica about the spiritual journey, the awakening, the dark nights of the soul, and literally everything in between. So Erica, it is so lovely to have you here eventually.
I
Welcome.
know. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you. It's been a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Long time coming.
I know. And everything, and we were just saying everything in divine timing, right? We connected a while ago and I always knew that Erica was meant to be on the podcast, but it was just everything was meant to align in the perfect timing. So I trust whatever is going to come through in our conversation is going to really hit home with whoever is meant to see this or listen to this. So yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
all the
I
trust.
think too, and at that time, right, or I was in a different place, right? A completely different place.
Mhm.
And so coming now, fast forward, it's almost like how much could I open up right now and divulge? It's a lot, but in increments, in a nutshell, definitely went through embodiment this year of the physical, very much the lower chakras. And I would say most of my life, I have always been in the dissociated upper chakras, not grounded, not connected to my physical, very unaware of, and just dissociated. It lived like that for many years of my life. And I would say the beginning of last year, I knew it was going to happen. Like I knew what was going to happen. Like I knew something was going to happen this year, but I didn't see it. And that's usually not common for me. So I was
Mhm.
slightly concerned.
Mhm.
Where I was like, what's happening? And then all of a sudden, I just felt like this literal of just being dropped into this planet body and just being like, you're going to deal with everything. And like all at once. It was just very grounding approach, but like life altering for me in a physical sense. And I'll get into the deeper of that, but the beginning stages of what I was speaking about is like far as dissociating and like just not really being in my body. I think that took a toll on my spiritual awakening when I started healing. So when I, like others, when I realized that my mediumship, because being a medium my whole life, I didn't understand actually what that was. I am from Salem, Massachusetts, so I've been around that spirit realm and that energy, but I was very ignorant of it. I didn't know what was going on. I almost was points in my life where I was just like, I'm going to numb this. I'm going to ignore this, like sabotage just anything I can to suppress it.
Mhm.
And it was still coming in. It was still coming in. I was still receiving and still experiencing. And I just was so disassociated with my body that I never understood it until later on in my years when I decided to actually awaken the gifts and learned that my mediumship was just more than just doing mediumship readings and proving that there is life after, death, life after here.
Mhm.
I realized that I wanted to take it further with healings, and I know that that was spirit telling me I needed to. Like, I needed to heal, right? Like, and I went into Reiki healing just saying, like, what can I do for others? That was just my life. What can I do for others? I need this tool to help others. And it's like, hold on. No, you need it for you. And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm good. Like, I'm fine. Like, people have it way worse than me, like totally bypassing my whole existence and just like, I'm, I'm fine.
Mhm.
And that was definitely a road where it led me into, I feel, this past year.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean that I wasn't experiencing healing, right? Like I was still experiencing healing inner child, I was still experiencing past lives. It just was on a different chakra, if you will, or a different level, layer.
Yep.
And I never knew that until it happened. And I am someone, I don't know if this has anything to do with design in my chart. I don't really know, but I'm assuming because I am the type of person where I'm not gonna, if someone tells me something, I'm not gonna do it until I'm ready. And also very much live by experience. So if I experience something, I need that experience before I can even have any type of judgment or any type of, and some people like to research and learn first. I am quite the opposite, where in that aspect, I've realized that's how spirit works through to me. It's like, you really do have to feel this and go through this to be able to go into the next stage. And that means with anything in my life, not just even like the dark night of the soul or like, healing with past lives, but it is a factor. It is something you have to experience. And I think on all layers and levels, and it doesn't ever end. It's not like I just am going to push button stop this year, right? Like it's going to continue. And I'm kind of like, I can't wait for the next journey. But this year for the root chakra, I would say I'm probably going to, I feel like that was the most embodiment that I've ever experienced on a inner child, inner child, like inner teen, adult life that I've ever experienced, and doing it also sober, like not even having any alcohol, or any type of dissociating things. That was something I knew was going to happen. I didn't know when. And it's not that I had an issue. It didn't feel aligned with me, right? Like I just didn't feel it. Like it was just something was very altering. But I did have a lot of elements that led me into this embodiment of why I was kind of forced to slow down
Mm.
and forced to be in this present moment with my health. And it's been life changing in the best way possible. And that also altered a lot of the way that I work, right? Like, but not altered, I guess shifted because it was for the better. Um, and so have focused this past year more on like, what can I do for myself, but also how can I help others embody it? And it's through Reiki healing. I do believe that, but also through intuitive. So like having that mediumship skill with the Reiki healing, I didn't even know was possible until I opened that channel of Reiki.
Mhm.
So I could go on, but I'll slow down.
So with this, your psychic and mediumship gifts opened. You've been working in this space as a working psychic medium and healer, right? You obviously studied Reiki as well. So what was the turning point? And this is such a huge thing. Everything you're saying, I am very like that too. I need to embody whatever it is that I'm here to share or teach or be. I need to embody it myself. I am an experiential learner, right? So and I always say this to my clients. I'm like, some teachers, some spiritual teachers, or some psychics don't have to necessarily have gone through the experiences that their clients have gone through to channel and get information. But it seems like on my particular path, that is very apparent. The people that come into my world, there is such a deep association with the things that they've gone through because I've also gone through things. And everyone's different, but it's really about that deep embodiment. So I really connected with that when you were talking about the embodiment. So what is it that's kind of changed for you in this kind of season of transition? Like, what has this season been showing you about yourself, your gifts, and your path? Like you just said, spirit told you to slow down. You've stopped drinking. What else does that look like for you? What's really like tangibly happened?
I feel like it's funny because nothing really outside of me.
Mhm.
So like nothing shattered outside of me. Like, and that was the hardest part because my frequency was like my frequency was shedding and I didn't understand why, because nothing was wrong
Mhm.
around me, right? Like, and that is my conditioning where I go back to thinking people have worse things. Why am I crying right now? Right? Like, what do you mean? Like, you have nothing to cry about. And it's like,
Yeah.
So that would take me back to those moments. And I'm like, hold on, no, this is like my embodiment. I am allowed to, right? I'm allowed to feel this way. Nothing has to be happening outside of me. And I think that a lot with my inner child, that feeling of like something has to be happening outside of you to be able to feel. And that's just because shedding and actually honoring it or moving through it. So nothing actually outside of me, but internally it was literally dying almost, if you will. And like I experienced, so last, I would say in like September, August, September, I experienced some, I, I, I guess you would call it dark night of the soul, but this is like, I don't really use terminology. I just say that it was definitely a dark shedding of my deep wounds, ancestral. And this year has shown me a lot of chapter closing ancestral with my lineage and my family. And there's a lot on that. But with what happened last year, I remember just feeling like realigning my why. Like everything felt off. Like I just didn't, I was just like teaching everything and doing all this and running myself over and just like doing so much. And then I'm like, hold on, why do I feel like this calling that I just need to go back and realign? And I'm like getting depressed. This isn't like me. Like if I didn't do a mediumship or if I didn't pack my day with healing, it was like I was dissociating my own needs with doing for others. So I was like, hold on, I'm realigning everything and we're stopping. I pushed myself to force through it. I trusted. I knew that something was leading me to somewhere. And I was like, I am okay with that. Like, I'm fine with that. And I remember experiencing a connection. So again, I'm the type where things have to come to me. And I experienced in a meditation Lilith coming to me, which I never experienced goddesses at that time. Prior to that, never experienced goddesses. I always experienced galactic or a different realm, and so this was frightening for me. And I aligned with someone that I knew, very close spiritual healer as well, and she opened my portal of like this divine darkness and like and had that assistance. It was like we met at the perfect divine timing. It was wild, but she was someone that like specializes in all this. So I was just like, this is really wild because I didn't know, like, I didn't exactly know what was happening. I just knew that I was rebirthing something and there was something that needed to die. And she showed up there and even Kali. So it was like really destructive. I mean, I was deep, dark, destructive. So that happened for like 6 months.
Wow.
At least 6 months, I would say. So what's funny is why I say we align perfectly is because literally this Mercury retrograde was the first day that I woke up and felt incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, like aligned.
Mhm.
Like
Totally.
I haven't felt this feeling in a long time. Like true embodiment and aligned. I was feeling very through that journey of like the dark night of the soul. It was very liberating, and that's another thing too. Very liberating the last couple of months. Even though I would have those days here and there, which is normal, right? We're not
Mhm.
perfect. It's going to happen. But I've been feeling a lot more aligned, a lot more of like aha moments. I get why that happened. I see that. Like I did it. I went through it. Now we're here. Now it's taking me on another journey. And so the embodiment, I think, with the dark night of the soul and then the physical body of the root really helped me realign my intentions to the true essence of what my spiritual connection is. And I'm going to just real quick explain something too, where we have this thing on social media, right? And like for a while, I wanted nothing to do with the spiritual world. Like this is really hard for me to admit, but like I just talked about this the other day, so I can admit it.
Right.
But I was just like questioning everyone. I was seeing through the fakeness. I was seeing through the just the camera. I just couldn't associate. I didn't want to be part of it. I felt like not that I was an imposter, but I was feeling I was seeing things that were just not aligned with what I just wanted to go back to the 3D. Just so it's been a really grounding physical reality check, I think. is the best way I can describe it. And that's never happened to me because I've always been very like up here and not and just kind of like making peace with everything, right? Like it's just interesting how it's led me through this journey, really, honestly. And I've never felt so much more clairsentient and claircognizant in my life because I wasn't feeling really. I wasn't really feeling my body.
Yep.
So it's interesting because I knew that something was changing with my intuition. I was getting a lot of fear-based things this past year. So that was new for me. Um, and I think that has everything to do with the divine, like that darkness that was awakening and that that frequency that I was kind of not familiar with. And I was receiving intuition that was different. And that was terrifying for me because I was like, well, this is not how I receive. Like, I don't want that. I
Mhm.
wanted a different way. And it triggered my old experiences as a child. So it brought up things that I didn't want to experience that were fear based.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't go into the suppression.
Hmm.
So,
And what helped you go into that kind of allowance? Because this is the thing, right? Like
yeah.
we have our as you know, right, our intuitive senses, our psychic senses, our clear senses are always shifting and developing as we do. And this is why our psychic senses aren't just they're not just practice, they're actual energetic processes. And this is why the energy healing piece is so key to our psychic development because it's all energy, right? And when we're holding, these wounds or these blocks or these things from our childhood, from our ancestral line, from our past lifetimes that are, things that we're afraid to see, things that we're afraid to feel, we still can numb that down. And you could still be a practicing professional and have these like extra opening and awakenings and being cracked open like you've had, and it's just like a huge
Yeah,
like healing space that you went into and just feels like a real huge shift of identity. Would you say that would be the
it
case?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. And it's also, so I would say what helped me is the fact that I've cultivated so much sovereignty and trust with my connection with spirit. So fear couldn't force itself. It was like pushing through fear is really what it came down to. It was like it doesn't scare me, right? Like it's pushing through the fear and facing it too of like nothing bad's going to happen because I have this protection, good or bad, right? Like duality, like whatever the scenario is. And I think that was a key factor that I kept in my frequency in my mind. And I think though that spirit did it in a perfect alignment with me because if I didn't have that trust and that connection to begin with spirit throughout my whole entire life, I wouldn't have been able to face that fear of that way that it was coming in. And just for an example, I would get in my car and I would be like, have a feeling and a vision and hear and see like a play out of how something's going to happen, and it was a car accident and it was happening multiple times with me, and I was like, this is not like me. And I was like, so like years ago I would ignore that and just be like, you're gone, like I don't, that's a bad thought, why would I think that,
Mm.
don't think that way, and immediately I was like, oh wow, okay, thank you for that warning, like I'm going to be aware, and okay, we'll see how this pans out, thank you.
Right.
And when I did that, it did happen, by the way. It was like, you're going to be on the phone with your sister. You're going to get into a car accident. And I'm like, that's weird. I'm never on the phone when I drive. That's not like, how is that possible? But I was like, okay. And so she did call me and I put her on Bluetooth, which I'm like, they'll laugh at me. They never, when they call me, I never pick up. Like, I don't ever answer my phone. I'm like the worst person to get in touch with. And I did that night. And it was because I just was trusting, right? And it did happen, but I was alert, and it was like literally like a centimeter. Someone just stopped immediately. Just immediately. My sister was on the phone for it. And it was a green light. So they just stopped immediately in front of me, going like 30 miles an hour, and I just like slid centimeter here. And I just was like, I was laughing at that point, like laughing. And that was just one scenario. But, you know, a couple of years ago, I would have been panicked and I would have been scared. And it was a feeling, though, too. It was like a gut feeling how my vision came through, by the way. It was like a vision, but then it was a gut feeling of like just like I know I felt it. Like I don't know how to, like I felt something.
Mhm.
And that was like, again, like I said, the clairvoyant, I mean, the clairsentient and claircognizant, that feeling, those feelings were always suppressed in my solar plexus. I think that's probably the most that
Mhm.
I've worked in. Um,
So what were your
because
main
of
clairs? Like how have you mainly worked? Because this is the thing, right? Like we have access to all of our clairs and they're meant to
mm,
work coherently with us. You
yeah.
know, like we see an image, we have that knowing, we have that feeling. It's all within resonance and it's all available to us. So if
So
I,
it was always,
yeah, were you working with like certain clairs specifically and you've kind of suppressed others and they've kind of come more online? Is that's what's happening?
yeah, yeah. I would say over the last 2 years, I think I've been more vulnerable with my feeling emotional, like clairsentient, but also the knowing, because I self-doubted myself my whole entire life. Like, that would have been my block, I guess you would say, or like secondary. I don't want to say block, but it was like a secondary. It was like I wouldn't just trust that without a vision and hearing. Like
Yeah.
I would not have. There's no way. Knowing who I am, I can't make a decision. I couldn't make a decision for the life of me for the longest period of my life. I
Mhm.
was like, don't give me too many options. If you give me too many options, we're going to be here all night. So just pick one.
Mhm.
And it was just funny. I actually went to Sedona and I literally immediately left a different person, and that stayed, that doubt, that like second guessing, that lack of, and like all of that, it was instantaneous. But with that being said, it was always a clairvoyant and clairaudient. I do I don't I feel like I smell, you know, sometimes, and taste, but it's not so active. Like it depends on the situation. I feel like that isn't like a huge thing for me, but definitely all the other senses I feel like are way more activated because of that reason of not being suppressed in the physical and the root chakra, right? Um, but as a child, there was many reasons to why it would be kind of triggering for me, right? And like going back to that. But at the end of the day, it's like everything that spirit brought me through, I feel like we have to be able to trust that that is the way that it's for you. Like you have to be able to believe that your healing and the way that it healed and you were healing and working on is exactly the way that it's planned. Because another thing too, spiritually, okay, like going into being a healer, going into being intuitive, we think there's a certain push button and it's like, oh, you can just access this, you can just do this, you can, and it's so much and rapid. And it's like, no, because I remember when I first, as an intuitive, as someone psychic, as a medium, all of that, I could not access my Akashic records.
Mhm.
Like literally, I was working with someone and we were opening like the channels of Reiki, and she was my Reiki master, and I was getting glimpses of my past lives, but I wanted more. And so I was being like, well, let me access the Akashic records. No, the door won't open. So like in that moment, this was so, I mean, a while ago, like, you know, I'm sitting there going, well, I still trust it though. I still was like, well, I just can't access it right now, and that's okay. You know, you can't be frustrated. And I think that is a huge factor of trusting spirits. Like, you don't need to do this right now. We'll come to you. We're divine placement and divine timing. Um, I think we can all kind of get into those modes though too, where we're like, well, I just kind of, well, what do you mean? You're just showing me this. Can I know more?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, it's like, we're not supposed to know every single thing. We're not.
That high achiever enough. And I swear to God, it's like all of my students in the Rebel Psychic School are like, yeah, but I want to do this quicker and this. I was like, you can't
Yeah.
rush. There's processes, there's healing. That's why like there's such a healing component, like you said, and it's really interesting that your clairsentience and your claircognizance were the ones that are later to turn on. Because I always say this to my students and my clients, it's like one of the hardest things is to trust, right? Because you don't have a visual, you
Mm.
don't hear something, so there's nothing that's like tangible. It's just this inner trust and this inner knowing that can come with a sensation. That
But it's the
sometimes
trust.
that's
It's the trust with you,
yeah, it can be the
right?
hardest one
Yeah.
to to recognize or honor.
Yeah.
And then if we
Mm.
have childhood trauma, if we have trauma not just from our childhood, but from, from our lineage, from our past
Mm.
lifetimes, we can shut down our feelings, especially
Yeah.
if we are so sensitive. And that's what happened to me. It's like I shut down
Mm.
my ability to feel because it was so overwhelming. And if you've had any experiences where your boundaries have um been broken, energetically, physically, sexually, like if there's any kind of violence or trauma, as little
Mm.
sensitive beings, we shut down our ability to feel because it feels so hard and horrible. And it's
Absolutely.
only when we're ready to confront those parts of ourselves that then we feel safe to feel, right?
Yeah. I think for me, what's interesting too is I always say to people, if you don't trust yourself, you can't trust spirit. And I remember saying that for years. And what's interesting about that comment, though, and what we're talking about is I trusted spirit more than I trusted myself. And that's
Ooh.
why, yeah, and that's why my clairsentient, that's why my lack of knowing and my doubt was always there because I gave it to them versus me first. And I really, truly, wholeheartedly believe that that's why they did that to me this year. And I say that they did that to me is because I'm like, they were like, I'm not leaving you, but I'm leaving you, right? And it's like, we're going to give you this space and you're going to do just fine. And I was like, wow, I never realized. And I always practice, right? And telling people that. And so now I'm like, absolutely, trust is the biggest thing, but I've learned to literally trust myself. I've every aspect of it.
Trust, surrender, and patience. I kid you not. I feel like that's the biggest soul lessons we are all
Yeah.
continuing to go through. It comes up time and time again for us in different guises.
Yeah,
We're meant to learn or experience. Um,
absolutely.
and how do you navigate, or what would you tell people that are listening? How can you navigate those periods of uncertainty, of not fully knowing what's next? Because this is something
Mm.
that so many people go through, right? And I always call it, there's the in-between stage, there's the void stage before the expansion, there's the stages where you feel like everything's crumbling away and everything that you knew is no longer where you're meant to be, but you don't quite know what that looks like yet, and it can be a really
Yeah.
uncomfortable space. So
I
how do
think,
you navigate that?
yeah, I think the best way and the approach to navigate the unknown is to make a practice, a daily practice, whether that practice means in connecting with your guides, whether that means connecting and taking that space for yourself, because the 3D world will get to you, right? And I think in the in between space, the most impatient we can be is when we are wanting or needing and having to do. And it's like instead of wanting, needing, and having to do, you can literally embody the frequency of, I don't want to say separate, but more of like oneness and understand that you are part of this universe. You are part of this soul and source, and you came here worthy and it's happening and it's trust and you will. And it's so it's like those practicing those little moments of being still and gratitude. It's like being and slowing down and giving thanks in those moments. It's like seeing miracles in every little portal, tiny little vision hole. I've been saying this a lot, and I think people are so quick to be in the present and go into the future or wait or not want to wait. But it's like if you can literally look around and write three things that happen that's magical in your day each morning or night, you will be surprised. And it doesn't have to be big, like anything. And you have to remember too, like on a soul level, and like, how do I say this without sounding like we're separating? I feel like I always go back to losing the identity of myself, right? Like Erica, right? I'm in this physical body. What is my expectation of me? What is the expectation of everybody? It's like, well, guess what? You get to know yourself on a soul level, and you get to know yourself in a deep level. So in those in between moments, practice that instead of needing to go. Like, you can be a being, right? Like, you can just slow down. And so it might be more of like an imagination in my mind for me. And that's just how I kind of go into the space of doing this, like intentionally, energetically. And so I always just go into that grounding presence of just trust and just being in that stillness.
Yeah. And I love, and it's so true. I always say this when any of my clients are in that waiting phase or when things are crumbling and there's fear of the future. It's the biggest thing is to have a connection to spirit, is to have a connection to your higher self and to create a dialogue, to really learn how to channel, how to, sit in that space and learn to feel and communicate and open that up because that's when the trust comes through. That's when the communication comes through. That's when, you have whatever that is, you might just have a feeling of just everything's going to be okay. And when we're
Mm-hmm.
so disconnected from ourselves and from spirit, we are outsourcing. We are fearing everything. And
Yeah,
like I said, even the grounding practice of gratitude, it's so simple, but yet so effective. And
absolutely.
and it is always simple. Mine's is like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh my God, I have a beautiful bedroom. And it's
Yeah.
just the most peaceful place. And I'm a very tactile person, so I feel
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And I'm like, oh, there's even the covers on my skin, or my cat coming to cuddle me and the love, like the
Yeah.
things that just fill me with comfort and peace and joy. That is that simple. It's really
Yeah.
that simple, and it just reverberates, and it's
Yeah, and everyone's going to do their own thing too as far as like what really suits you in that in between phase, but something that really does for me as well and I do tell is like giving. Like if you can be useful to something, giving, donating your time, being there in that space for others, but also too one thing I practice is just in like what you were talking about how grateful you are of your beautiful room. I'm always every day in the shower just like this feels amazing, this like I'm so thankful that I get to connect with water. I get to be in this space, like we get a shower, like this is amazing, we have this body that we can feel the shower, and like it sounds crazy and so simple, but it's like that truly gives you a connection that you wouldn't normally say, right? And I think a lot of the times I tell people to things that are going to make them probably feel uncomfortable in the beginning. Like when I work with someone, I'm like, you might not feel comfortable saying this a couple times. You
Mhm.
have to get used to that physical feeling of being in that space because you have to get uncomfortable. You have to be in that. But I mean, obviously, someone that is working on themselves at that point, they already know. But I think it's very important to be in that space. So what?
Like, give me the water.
Yes.
Everyone has different levels of comfort when it comes to
Oh my
expression.
God.
That's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's been the most surprising or confronting part of this period, without a better word, Dark Night of the Soul-esque space that you've been in?
The most surprising was the fact that my why changed.
Mhm. Go into that.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Like, I, so I feel like I always had, and I think that's like, again, going back to what you were saying about your identity or like shedding and just really letting go of the old version that you loved for so long. And it's like, well, guess what? There's a new one to come, right? And so for me, my why was all like I have a huge attachment to my why, and it was like obviously mediumship. So my why was mediumship, but it was a deeper level of really comforting people that have this gift that didn't get the support that they needed during their lifetime, because that was me. So like I wanted to be of service to someone, and my why was to teach or help someone that's a medium because you're not alone. And that was just how like I'm creating my business off of this reason
Mhm.
because if I would have known what I knew, or that community would I've known years ago, I wouldn't. But then I'm like, it's okay that I went through what I did. So I always go back to like, that's what I needed to learn, right? But I'm like, well, if I can be of service and help someone. So my why was always to teach people that there is life after passing and crossing over, and that we're not banned, and we shouldn't be shunned, and we don't have to be quiet of this gift, and we're not crazy. You are, everything you say is true, and I believe you, right? And I think that was because most of us didn't get believed, or most of us didn't say, or we kept it inside, and then I was always awkward and weird and didn't like people for no reason, but I had a reason, but I couldn't quite explain it. And so I just wanted to like comfort people in that why. But as it started to shed around October, I mean, I'm like last year, August, September, I started to being like really depressed on that shedding of it. Like, how could I let go of that? How is that changing? And so I started to kind of force myself of like, no. But then I realized this is bringing me somewhere, and I have to do it, and I have to. And so I like shut down for like 2 months of my business. Like I was like, yeah, I was like, we're going here, and that's okay. Um, and it changed my why. And I'm still kind of like, I feel like my why has a lot of whys now. So I don't feel like it has the same pinpoint meaning.
Mhm.
Um, I feel that my why would be more geared to helping people understand the healing aspect, which makes sense because the Reiki healing and embodiment of what I went through, right? So that kind of shifted and changed into the intention from that. So that was, I think that's the biggest, probably hardest thing to even actually talk about when I think about it. Or when I speak it out loud, I'm like, wow, like, yeah, your why can change, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Um, and it's probably going, and it should.
Yeah. As you evolve, your
Yeah.
why evolves, your business evolves, it is our business is a living, breathing entity. It's the
Mm,
DNA of us. So of course it's all about evolution and shift and
yeah.
change. And this beautiful thing of that, this dichotomy of, stepping into, okay, well, what does this look like if I'm here to offer healing more? But then actually that's going to come full circle because part of really stepping into your mediumship gifts, your psychic gifts, is also the energy piece, is also the healing. And it's almost like potentially this is just going to come full circle of just giving more breadth to your work and how you're here to share and support people?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still kind of figuring it out. So we're here now, right? Like we're on this journey, and I'm kind of like, I know the intention, and I think that's the most important part, is having an intention, but having your why, and knowing that you can embrace the new version of yourself in each season and chapter. And it's also a learning curve on most of us when we go through a rebirth. Not everyone is meant to constantly go through rebirths. Like, I know people that always are going through them. I'm not one of those persons. Like, I'm not that. So this was a interesting level for me. So yeah, I know a lot of people do experience that often. And that it's all depends on the soul, all depends on the past life, all depends on those lessons. And I do feel like the past lives have been coming up a lot. I've been seeing a lot of inner child visions and stuff. And so I know that it's more of something that I'm letting go for sure, deepening that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, it's like every time, and this is why I work with so many clients are in the void and the rebirth piece because it's my life. And we are here to integrate and embody these bigger lessons, and we are here to evolve to these next phases and stages. And that comes as a multidimensional soul. It comes with all these layers of programming, of experiences that we have shifted through, learned through on our soul's evolution. And this is why I always work on those three phases, which is the inner child piece, the ancestral, and the past life. Those are the ones that have come up for me that are so integral to understand and shift through at the deepest level. So it doesn't surprise me that those are all coming up for you and have all come up for you in the last year. And and this year is a cycle nine, right? We're coming to these closings, we're coming to these
Yeah.
endings. There's been so much shifting out of this year, and it's yeah, and as we step into next year, it feels like there's just so much more expansion. But
Yeah.
coming from a place of, and you mentioned this earlier, like giving yourself rest, right? We're so as healers, as people that want to serve and help, we're so sometimes stuck on these, got to do more, feel responsible for everyone, we've got to work harder. There's all these
Mm.
old paradigms and programs I know that I have been working through personally too, that we are really here to shift out of because we both are not here to build business. We're not here to have our spiritual and healing empire based on an old paradigm of work, an old 3D version of what that looks like and feels like. We're not meant to do that. We're meant to create it from an embodied place of being a clear channel of evolution, of growth, of shift, of change, of flow rather than force. And yeah, it feels, I mean, I know I've personally been working through that one. So
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's yeah, it's been an interesting ride and I'm here for it. So
So what's next for you then? What is this? I know you're kind of still in this phase, but what is next for you, your work,
I'm
your your life? What is
so
that?
I kind of was like letting spirit kind of guide me, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm going to open the door and I'm going to just trust that you're going to line me into this next year of what I like see it as, right? I
Mhm.
feel like I always see something and then to the next year.
Mhm.
And I definitely, this is out of my like element, out of my comfort zone. Like collaborating and working with people is something that I've been told for years that like I should do what I never do because I'm always like, oh, I'm not like, I'm just not, I'm a very personal one on one person. So, with that being said, I definitely have taken these new leaps and had these opportunities kind of fall into my energy field that aligns. And so, I will be working with, I think, about 11 other healers in this platform program where it frees up my space. And that's my intention. My one on ones will be kind of in a consolidation. And so, like, I won't, it frees up a lot of space for me. And that's really my intention for next year because I have a family and I want to be there with my children. And so I'm trying to balance that. And it kind of just, like, it just all worked out. And so I can just have that intention and that goal, if you will, and that vision of what spirit's leading me through because I do want to teach and I want to be able to share that. And it's collaborating with other healers and it's something that I normally wouldn't do. So this is that leap threshold, that leap of faith, um, that energy of just liberating, really being in that space of vulnerability too. So
And what is this platform? What is this
so
shared?
it hasn't, so we haven't, so we're doing all the documentation and contracts on Monday. So we haven't launched it yet, but it'll be in January 11th. So
Okay. And can you give us a little insight of like what it is, what it's about, what it's for?
yeah, well, I will be having, so I will have 11 other of us, 11 other of the healers and
Yeah.
myself will be together on a platform where you will have 11 certifications. So you will have my Reiki healing, intuitive Reiki healing certification. If you choose to upgrade and choose to do one on ones with me, then you get that. There's quantum healing, hypnotherapy, there'll be sound healing. There'll be, I think there's a couple other more. I mean, there's so many other collaborators that I don't even know their specialty. Shaman work. I mean, we're all meeting on Monday. So I did meet with them for the past couple of months. But so it's kind of, it's really baby fresh.
Yeah.
But the intention is to collaborate with multiple, multi-dimensional certification, if you will, is what it's going to be called. So yeah,
Good.
I'm excited for that
Yeah, it feels really good for you.
because it's so new for me.
Yeah, it is. But this
Like,
is like, it's almost like you being witnessed by others, there's something big around that. And this is feels like an old persecution wound for you too, almost
Mm,
like being witnessed in circle by other women, by other healers, by other witches. That better
mm.
word. There's something big around that for you. It feels very cathartic for you to be
Yeah.
take almost like what they're coming through and saying is like take your rightful place, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny you
Oh,
say that because,
it didn't feel like that.
yeah, it's funny you say that with the, I haven't been able to take up space. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, meaning like in a big energy crowd. Like, I give myself to one on one. And so I'm being more in that take up space, but I think that has stemmed from being judgment, like in a judging way, or things from the past that have been like, you know, persecuted for whatever. Like I've had so many past lives where I've been muted and can't speak, and it's just constant. And so I feel like I'm always shedding that layer and just like pushing through it, and knowing that like, wow, I get this chance here. Like I'm going to do that for my past life. I'm going to integrate it, and I'm going to do that for you because you didn't get to.
Yeah.
And that has everything to do with my grandmother. That, by the way, the cycle closing. My grandmother just passed. My grandfather passed back to back. They were 101,
Wow.
still going strong. Oh yeah, they're still going strong, living in their house, doing everything. And she was a medium, but she was terrified of it. So her gift was mediumship, but she was so scared of it. And so I was there when she passed, and I comforted her, but she was so scared. And so it's not uncommon in my lineage, because my other side of my grandmother was also, and her mother was put in a psych ward in Salem. So this is just like the beginning of it for me when it comes to my lineage of what I found out and what I've experienced. So definitely, and it's not just me. I have so many clients that are like, oh my gosh, there's so many cycles of my lineage and so many chapters closing with my family. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. Definitely.
100%.
Not, yeah.
And this is so common with a lot of people that are on this journey is that they have had not just their past lives, but like exactly what you said, their ancestors, their grands, or great grandmothers that have these gifts that have been shunned or judged, or they had to shut them down out of fear or whatever it is. And also the psych ward is so key. Like I'm thinking about one of my clients specifically, all of those things exactly were her story too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it's like you know when we step into this work or when we awaken to our true gifts, we're not just healing and awakening for ourselves, we're doing it for our whole lineage. We're doing it for all of our lifetimes. And it's like
Yeah.
sometimes this is a lifetime that we choose. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why we go through the roller coaster that is. And you taking this space is allowing you and your business to change and evolve to get, like you said, you know, from going to those one-on-ones, which can be not only just time consuming, but energetically consuming to, you know, sometimes we need to expand our capacity to hold more and to go into more group spaces. And that's what it feels like is very much prevalent
Yeah.
right now. Um, what what I just want to ask you something. What part of your magic, because you're so magical, what part of your magic feels like it's through this rebirth, what feels like it's actually being reborn through this whole process that you've
My root
gone
chakra. My root chakra, my foundation,
through?
like my physical body. Like I feel like a different person this year, like physically. And
Mm,
it's funny because I pushed through, like I healed my body I was told that I had illnesses and I didn't believe it. And I healed my body. I don't have what I was told and diagnosed with because I refused to believe it. And I healed my body. So I feel like a different being,
beautiful.
literal.
Mhm. And this is also something that's coming through, and why Spirit wants me to share this specifically is, and I've seen this back with a lot of like say like old school mediums. So I started studying back in, oh my God, like 2012 or something. And there was old school mediums, old school psychics in like these old London psychic colleges that I attended. And we're talking about like old school trance mediums and mediums. And what I
Mm-hmm.
realized through experiencing a lot of those older school people was they didn't when they were doing their mediumship, they were so disconnected to their body. Like they were so just fully connected to spirit. And a lot of them would
Mm,
use vices. So a lot of them were either overweight or they would smoke or they would drink, again, to try and anchor their body back down because they weren't taught. And I mean, I wasn't taught. I had to figure this all out for myself, right? The energetic components of grounding, of protection, of clearing, of anchoring ourself, and like again, the embodiment, the reconnection of our body, because we're not just here to be a spiritual channel for spirit. We're here to be that spiritual channel in an embodied body in the 3D. And
mm.
it feels like there's something there. And maybe people are
That,
experiencing this too, you know, like they feel they're so connected and so fucking tapped in, but actually their next phase and their next calling is to really ground and fully expand and embody that in the physical.
yeah, and I can so see what you're saying with the old school kind of mediums, how that would, how, and like how the healing comes in so important for them. And you're
Yeah.
literally a vessel and you're not practicing that. And that was one thing that I immediately went into when I started embracing and said, I'm going to open my gifts. I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to say that I'm a medium. Okay. I've been in my whole life. Okay. I'll say it. And when I started reading, I'm like, I need to protect, I need my healing, not protect, but I need my sovereignty. I need my body. I need to heal it. I need to make sure that I'm taking on my energy, right? And that I'm not carrying this frequency, and it can be really heavy. And then also the elements can come into play too. But yeah, I think it's another thing on the lineage is, I know we have to go, but I want to share really one quick thing. And I want to say the lineage of the cycles being broken, another one of my whys. So the reason too going into this was because my daughter was experiencing things that I experienced as a child, and she was about 2, and I was like, there's no way I'm denying this like anymore. Like she's 9, 10 now, but I was like, there's no way that I can ignore this. Like she's experiencing stuff that I've gone through, right? And even more, she's even more. And because I've opened that for her and my son, they're like, it's like these little portals, and they're so attuned. And like that lineage of what I saw with our, with your lineage of your grandparents and your being as witches or whatever, ignored, shunned, and suppressed, if you have children too and you're experiencing it and then you go into that frequency, you need to make sure that you're that vessel for them. And I talk a lot about like how to help that, how to open that, how to access that for your children, and be that support for your children, because I went right into it and it was no turning back, where I was like, there is going to be support 100%. So it's been a wild ride with that.
So was that your initiation into, okay, this is what I know I'm meant to do in my soul work, and you actually
Yes.
want to work professionally because of the initiation that you saw in your children?
Yes. So my why was because I wanted to help people that I experienced, but my true essence of what it unfolded was my daughter for sure.
Yeah. How
It was,
beautiful.
and it was multiple children that I could go. This is a whole nother podcast for the experiences I have with children and the experiences that I have with spirit baby and with my daughter. That was life changing, altering for sure. I did
Mm.
it. I definitely could not deny it, because if I did, I was denying what she was experiencing.
Yeah, beautiful. And this is why the inner child piece is just so prevalent for you right now, because it's that reflection, right? It's like everything that you wish
Yeah.
you had as a child, that love, that care, that validation that you give to your own daughter and your own son is all the things that all of us little witchy children, all of us very intuitive, sensitive children wish that we had. And that
Yeah.
is honestly why, again, the why mo a lot of us step into this work. I mean, we get pushed into this work often, right? We don't choose it, but on soul level we do. But it's like often it comes from that place of we want to help the wounded part of us that we never got, We never got that love, we never got that support, we never got that understanding, and we're here to hold the next generation of those that are also opening and experiencing the things that we did. And it's beautiful to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm, I love this.
Starseed children.
I honestly, they're wild. Like, some of the kids that I've seen now, I'm just like, oh my God, how are you so wise? I was like climbing trees and probably eating, I don't know, toys or something like when I was your age. You're like this
Yeah.
wise being. It's just crazy of how they're gonna. Do you feel like you're gonna work with kids more in the future? Did you feel like this is something that's getting ring in the ear? There we
It's so
go.
funny. It's so funny because you're literally bringing out my why even more. So, like, as I'm speaking about all this stuff, because I'm like, I don't even know my why really right now, but you just literally brought it out of me. So, yeah, and it's definitely a vision of my future where, yes, I will be working with children.
Yeah.
Yes,
I see a book as well.
my kids, but yes,
Yeah.
on a deeper level for sure. Yeah.
I see a book. I even see you writing and creating a book, like a children's book, almost to help
So,
people understand
so
kids to understand their intuition.
yeah, so I'm creating a program for chakra starseed children. Yeah. That has not even been out yet. I haven't even said it to the universe yet, but yes.
Oh, your energy just said it to me. So
I
no,
know,
that
right? I
feels
can't deny that.
no, that feels beautiful. It feels like just this softness and this expansion. And you moving from this, doing like all most of the one-on-ones, it's giving you this space to expand and create something more and be with your kids. And there's just going to be so much beauty and energy that comes from being with them. And it's like just gonna, it's
Mhm.
almost like there's these little spirals of inspiration are just gonna like poo 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 hit you. And I see you just starting to talk about that so much more in your socials. Like it feels like that's gonna be a huge angle for you
Yeah.
because we need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, you're reading the future for me. You're seeing it all, girl.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
It's so funny. Yeah. I mean, because we all have this intention of what it can look like, right? And I have been thinking, seeing, feeling, and yeah, I mean, there's a shift and I'm ready for it. So, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for confirming that.
There you go. If you could name this chapter of your life, what would you call it?
This chapter, I guess, over the whole year, the wise owl.
Ooh, love.
My grandmother's an owl, so she sends them to me since she literally is an owl. So,
Love owls.
yeah.
Tattoo of an owl. One of my spirit guides.
Is
Beautiful.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Wise owl. I
yeah.
connect with animals, hence the cat hair that just flew in my eye. And energetically attune and feel into this next new chapter, 2026. Let's just start with a brand new year. What would you name that? What feels like it wants to be birthed in a word and a name and a frequency?
I feel like it's the multi-dimensional Erica because
Mm.
it's totally different from what I've kind of put myself in, and it's giving up way more space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And for all the listeners who want to find you, connect with your work, follow along on your journey, where can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
You can find me at simplydivineelements.com, my website, and then on Instagram, Simply Divine Elements. Um, I usually am on Instagram, and of course, you can contact me on my email through my website. And yeah,
Beautiful. And what advice would you give anyone that feels like they're going through an identity shift, a dark night of the soul?
yeah, I would just say don't be judgmental. Don't don't put that space, that energy on you, and really show up for grace. Show up with that space of compassion, just as you would for someone else. It's really about not judging, and I think that is probably one of the hardest things a lot of feminine people cannot do, right? Judgment. Are we good enough? Are we good enough? Or criticizing. So I think showing up for yourself with grace and compassion in moments that you really, really need it, it's honoring yourself in that inner child, that inner space that you need,
Yeah.
that you might not receive from others, right? Because we can't expect it from others. We have to do it for ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, that self-empowerment, that
Yeah.
self-sovereignty. I hate the word sovereignty, but like I have no better word for it. It kind of
I,
is. You know?
Yeah, I love the word. I think it's great. I think it's perfect because it's so true.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah. And self-leadership, we've just gone through the 1-1 portal. This is what it's about. It's like, how can we take ourselves and our lives into this next phase of our own leadership, our self and sovereign spiritual leadership, being led by spirit, right? And whatever direction
Mhm.
that is, in our relationships and our business and our spiritual work, it's like we're being asked to come back to ourselves and choose the path that is aligned with us, right? Because we all have such
Mhm.
unique individual path. And I always see this and I always explain this to clients, right? Whenever I look at someone's path, whenever I look at their soul path, I always see it like a treasure map. Think of like a old school treasure map and
Mhm.
like the hero's journey, Like our soul journey is, we have to fight the goblins under the bridge. We have to swim through the
Mhm.
crocodile infested water. We've got to scale the fucking snowy mountain and it just to get to this like elusive treasure at the end, right? But who we are, who that like say that Aladdin type character is at the start versus who we become along the way, that's the beauty, that's the path, right? It's not this elusive treasure at the end. It's really the becoming of who we become because of all these experiences, because of their trials and tribulations. Um,
Yeah.
that's the real purpose of who we are and what we're here. And everything that gets birthed from that is just an expression of that, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Embrace the journey. Yeah.
Embrace
Get
it.
ready for anything. Embrace it and get ready for anything.
Yeah.
And believe that you're trusting, believe that you're worthy of it because at the end of the day, it's really about being in the space of knowing you came here, right? We came here. Want to experience what we wanted to, what we're experiencing, right? And I think that's the hardest part is it's not always butterflies, right? It's not always going to be beautiful.
Mhm.
And also too is you're not going to always find that intuition and knowing, and you're not always going to know what's going to happen. And in those spaces, it's testing you to be in that stillness. It's testing you to be pushed over the board. Are you going to crack? Are you going to what are you going to unravel? And
Mhm.
I always think that with other people outside of me, I'm like, thank you, God, for that test.
Mhm.
Thank you, Spirit, for putting that in front of me. That was a message for you from you that I know that you were just seeing how I was going to respond, what was going to unfold and unravel out of me, and it was a beautiful lesson. Like I always think that way when something outside of me I can't control, right?
Mhm. Yeah, because there always is. It's always a bigger lesson, and the lesson is the embodiment of it. And then
Yeah.
it'll show up again in a different guise, and you're like, ah, I see you. I choose to go this way. We'll leave you over here. That's growth, right? That's what it's about.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here. And I really hope I know my audience will have got so much from that and just an understanding that we're all human and we're all trying to navigate this experience. We all don't have it figured out and we're all going through these different junctures of our lives. But when we're doing it, like you said, with grace, with compassion for ourselves, with trust
Vulnerability.
spirit, right? Like we can move there. I'm not going to say easier, but we move there. We move to where we're meant to go, right?
Yeah. I think it's about being vulnerable too, right? You have to be vulnerable because the more vulnerable you are, the more you understand people the more you see how people understand you too. And it's a ripple effect.
Yeah, it is. And people feel it. They really do.
Yeah.
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 Thank you so much for being here. It's been,
Thank you for having me.
you are so welcome. So, everyone, if you want to follow Erica, all of her details will be in the show notes below. And I will see you guys all next time.
Thank you.